What is global health?
So thank you very much, Jean, and it's a pleasure to be here today. And I was commenting to Chris earlier in the morning. I don't know any region that would be featuring a discussion around global health and economic development anywhere else in the country, the way that this is happening here. And I think it really speaks to the visionary outlook that we can have here in Washington State, and how opportunistic and innovative we really can be. So what is global health? And I think if there was a recent poll that the University of Washington put out that asked people around the state, what is global health? What do you think it is? And how much do you know about what's going on in this sector? And the remarkable answer that came back was very few people knew about the sector. That wasn't so surprising. But what people thought global health was the health of the earth. They thought it was about climate and environmental health. So we've got some teaching to do. Global health is about serving the most vulnerable populations of this world, and the people who don't have the resources to help themselves, and that is locally as well as internationally. And that's really critical to emphasize, because it isn't international. Global is all of us, and we have a number of initiatives that are going on here, and it's also why we have great input and partnership with the local healthcare institutions who recognize that our healthcare delivery system needs revamping, and there is a tremendous amount to be learned from what our global health partners here have learned in resource-constrained settings. And we're putting some of those applications into action here. So that's one thing to consider. Another is, as Jean mentioned, we all travel. We were talking up here that Jeff and Chris each put in more than 200,000 miles a year annually traveling around the world. Most of us don't hit that mark, but we're all traveling, and diseases know no boundaries. So as we know from H1N1 last year, that we all can face infections that can happen in the developing world or can happen here, and we need to know how to react to that. And we have a tremendous pool of talent and research and innovation that's going on here to address some of those issues. Also, global health is it's a broad sector in terms it can be technologies, the type that Jeff's company works on, clean water technologies and cascade design, that many for-profit companies are getting into. They're recognizing the opportunities in these emerging markets. It's a different business model, which I'm sure Jeff can address and Chris can address. But there is a tremendous opportunity to work with these emerging markets around creating new technologies, whether it be devices, diagnostics, vaccines, pharmaceuticals. It also is agricultural products. It's about food security. And we also should think about, you've heard a lot about infectious disease where global health is concerned. Increasingly, there's attention to chronic disease, and that is a lot of, as health has improved and we've made great strides in terms of addressing some of these critical acute problems in the developing world, now they're facing some of the same, they're beginning to face the same challenges that we have around diabetes, obesity, and many of those issues. So I'll stop there, and we can talk about the data and the jobs, and can also talk about how broad this sector is in the future, but that's kind of an overview.
Give us a heads up about the Global Health Technologies Competitive Fund.
So this is a new fund, quite remarkable, the first of its kind in the country that we're aware of. Last year, the state legislature was interested. They've identified global health as one of the 21st century innovation economies for the state, along with clean technology. And so they were trying to figure out a way to support this, because as you'll hear from Chris and others, the funding for these projects and the tremendous growth has come from outside the region. We haven't had any state support to grow this sector, which, as I must mention, has been around for more than 3 decades. I mean, we have very deep roots. PATH and Seattle Biomed, the Hutch and UW have all been working on these problems for decades, and then, of course, the Gates Foundation has elevated our impact there. And so the legislature last year said that they wanted to help inspire for-profit organizations to get more involved in this sector and come up with some of the innovations that we know can have an impact. And these public-private partnerships are just a very critical component to having success in the global health market, something that Chris can really address, because Pat is one of the world experts in that area. And so the legislature appropriated $1 million, obviously in a very tight year, to create this Global Health Technologies Competitiveness Fund, which is to provide seed funding for companies and research organizations who are ready to commercialize and manufacture global health technologies. We just did the first round. We tried to make it as easy as possible. We wanted to have some quick results, so we put an RFP out at the end of October. We got 58 applications. There was no great marketing around it. We just used our network to reach out. 58 applications statewide, from Vashon Island to Richland to Hallsbow, Port Orchard, and the Seattle region, Spokane, and all sorts of technology ideas, ranging from medical devices to agriculture to portable emergency rooms. We even had an application from a local chocolate company about a cocoa bean technology to help smallholder farmers. And it was just, they were from companies we had no idea were out there working on these technologies. And so the governor appointed a commission, and we just announced the two winners, the two first grantees. This was for a total of $300,000, not much. And we ended up, and the criteria was for how many jobs would it create in Washington State, how quickly and how close to commercialization are you going to be, and what's the global health impact going to be. And so the two grantees are Sign, which is a wonderful organization based out of Richland that's been operating for decades, and they developed essentially a nail that helps repair orthopedic injuries. They've trained thousands of doctors worldwide, and this is going to increase they're going to be able to hire many more people to help with their manufacturing facility in Richland. And then the second company is a technology company that wanted to open an office here. They're Israeli-based, and this is going to enable them to do this. And they have a circumcision tool, very simple tool. It's called CircMedTech is the name of the company. They're going to be based in Bellevue. And between these two companies, they say over the next 3 years, with the help of this $150,000 each that they're getting, they're going to create at least 40 jobs, which they'll be able to leverage this money to do. We'll have the second round of funding coming up in the first quarter, and we are also we're talking with the federal government and private foundations to contribute to this pool so we can leverage this funding, so you can learn more about it. But we're very excited about it, and clearly there's tremendous interest and so much going on. And again, this is the for-profit partnerships that you might not have expected. And many of them are partnering with organizations such as PATH and Fred Hutch, Infectious Disease Research Institute, and Seattle Biomed to get these products to market.